What is up guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7 update 1.48, and it's time to continue on with those new car reviews, this time going for one of my favourite cars of this update, the Volvo 240 SE, which is not only just absolutely fantastic to see in game and rather quite unexpected, but does see the introduction of the Volvo brand finally in Gran Turismo 7 after what feels like the longest time and thousands of people constantly asking to see the Swedish brand finally make their entrance, and well, they have. So let's start off with the price point of this vehicle. The 240 SE Estate from 1993 will set you back 40,800 credits. As you can see, the displacement is 1,986cc. It's an FR drivetrain layout. Max power is a measly 109 brake horsepower. In terms of the weight though, it's a whopping 1,324 kilograms, and of course is naturally aspirated. Now in terms of the car itself, there is plenty of customization options. I honestly thought that Polyphony would really overlook the, cult following of these big tanky Swedish things, but they actually didn't. There is plenty of different options that you can go ahead and customize your 240 SE with, which I do genuinely really like. Whether you want to go for wide body, non-wide body, ridiculously big rims, smaller rims, bumper options, roll cages, you can pretty much do it all. There is almost no stone left unturned when it comes to making the 240 SE exactly the way you want it. You can pretty much do anything, including putting a ridiculously massive rear wing on it, which just massively gave me Gran Turismo 4 vibes. So in terms of the vehicle itself, you can pretty much customize to your heart's content and do many different builds and variants as you do so wish. So in terms of the, best plus point to begin with, this is an absolute dream of a customization car. Now in terms of the car itself, of course we're going to start off with the stock version on a lap of the Nordschleife. We'll then go ahead and see where it ranks on our lap time leaderboard before heading over to the fully upgraded version around the high speed ring. Now you can probably all guess exactly what I'm going to say about the 240 SE in its standard form. Of course it's not going to win any awards for being fastest car of the year. In fact, it's ridiculously slow. It will barely reach 100 miles an hour on a downhill push. It's very heavy, very weighty, but I actually found myself having more fun with the stock version than I do the upgraded version. And the main reason for that is it's just so slow and so easy to just get that rear end out and dancing that it is probably one of the most ridiculous cars to drive in game. It looks absolutely ridiculous and it feels absolutely ridiculous, and overall it is an absolute joy to drive. It has that very high up sort of bouncy moving around sort of early 90s sort of 80s suspension style to it, which I absolutely love. It's built like a tank. You've got the radio antenna just bouncing off of the side. It just is absolutely ridiculous to drive, and it is probably one of the most fun standard version vehicles that I've ever driven. Of course it's not fast, of course it's very heavy, but in all honesty, when it comes to pushing this car to the limit, it is an absolute joy around a bunch of different tracks. However, it really is difficult to get it being anywhere near competitive in its standard form. Overall though, let's talk about the car itself and the design. I think when it comes to Volvos, the 240 is honestly just the epitome of Volvo vehicles. The big bulky estates, the high up ride suspension, the way it looks in terms of the styling, that big iconic Volvo grille. I think it just brings together to be one of the most iconic car designs of all time. I think when you think of Volvo, this is probably the first car that will come to mind. And obviously there is a massive cult following for these vehicles. They're really not that sort of, hidden away. There is a bunch of people that absolutely love these things. Yes, you see them turn into drift missiles. Yes, you see them, track tuned and things like that. It really isn't no hidden secret that these are extremely potent and ridiculous vehicles. And of course, when it comes to Volvo, I know what a lot of people are going to be wanting next. And of course, that will be the BTCC vehicles and the touring cars. of the 1990s. Of course, that's where people are going to want this Volvo branding and manufacturer being in game now to head towards, and hopefully we do see that. But in terms of the road car and the standard vehicle, yes, it's great fun to drive. Yes, it's absolutely bonkers to throw around corners, and yes, you can have a ton of fun with it. Now, let's still have a look at the lap time leaderboard. Of course, it's not going to be winning any awards or, really high up there, but we'll take a quick glimpse at it anyway. So as you can see, it comes overall 5th place in the 400 pp category, just like the Honda Civic EG, which we also reviewed a few days prior. As you can see, it is a little bit slightly faster than the S660 and the Honda Beat, which actually kind of did surprise me. But as you can see, it's a fairly mid vehicle overall. Again, it's not going to be placing high on any leaderboard, realistically, no matter what you do with it. However, of course, we are not just going to leave it there. We are, of course, going to throw as many upgrades as possible onto the vehicle and lap it around the high speed ring to see really what this big old Swedish tank can really do once we start putting the likes of high RPM turbochargers, boring up the engine, better brakes, better tyre compound, so on and so forth. So let's go ahead and talk about that, because this is really where a lot of people are going to head towards when it comes to actually getting their hands on one of these. You're going to want to upgrade it, you're going to want to turn it into a track car or a drift missile, and of course if you go into lobbies with friends, it's going to look fairly ridiculous as this big old Swedish estate car starts getting thrown around with a high RPM turbocharger on it and side exit exhaust. It is just absolutely ridiculous. Again, for me, this is where the most fun comes with this vehicle. However, be warned, the suspension and wide body on this car has a habit of tucking under those arches, getting caught, and then just not turning around the corner. I honestly would say if you want to go for any version of this vehicle and you want to make a quick track car build with it, try and avoid the wide body. I do find that it makes it much more difficult to actually get any fairly decent tuning done with it and to really get the maximum out of it in terms of on-track performance. So just be aware of that with the racing suspension and the wide arch body kit, it is going to catch, and even in its standard form, as you can see, it's still going to have a habit of that. It will just need kind of tuning out. Again, it is easier to tune out the non-wide body version than it is to tune out the wide body version. In terms of the car though, it does have some fairly decent features. Of course, you're going to have to stretch out the gear ratio. Just be warned that even if you do put all the upgrades on, it's going to keep it at a relatively low ratio for the top speed. So that is certainly something you're going to want to look into. However, once you start doing that, there is fairly a decent amount of power in this vehicle. To say that even with the weight reduction, it's a heavy car is an understatement. However, you can really have some ridiculous fun with this thing. Yes, you can make it a drift missile if you don't want to go the track build. So to be honest, really, the versatility in this car is fairly quite ridiculous. I had a bunch of fun with this vehicle. In fact, I have 3 customized for different things. I have a street tuned, a track tuned, and of course a drift tuned, and you can pretty much do it all. In terms of Volvo's lap time, of course it's again not going to break any records. It comes in with a PP rating of 646.51 and does the high speed ring in a lap time of a 1 minute 19.210. Now unfortunately, part of the issue of that is that bodywork catching with the tyre. That is going to make it a little bit difficult around these high banked circuits. So if I'm going to be totally honest, try and avoid excessive camber tracks, at least for now, or until you start dialing in those tuning settings. Overall though, not too bad, and still faster than the Tesla Model S, which is really all I wanted from the 240 SE. Overall, welcome to Gran Turismo 7 Volvo. It's great to have you, and thank God the 240 SE is finally here in game. Don't forget to let me know what you think of the Volvo down below. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Take care guys. Peace.